I was involved in a very amusing incident quite recently in Mill Road, and it triggered me into writing a short story. So, if you're sitting comfortably or standing and walking, quite chilled out with your earpieces or headphones in place, here goes. Is egg and chips a universal meal? It had started to rain, lightly at first, almost imperceptibly, as though each drop was held until being projected at the desired velocity to hit the immediate surrounding area. It was as if my private space was being invaded. I dived into the nearest convenient shelter, which happened to be the entrance to a small, oddly decorated cafe, which I'm sure I hadn't noticed before. I'd walked by that spot several times very recently, and was sure another business had been there. A travel agent, I recalled, with strange signage. What was it? Yes, that was it. Blue Yonder and Back. I remember the thought I'd had upon seeing it. Perhaps they can arrange to go to other worlds. Quite fascinating, always assuming you were given a return ticket. But here I was at the doorway into this rather odd cafe. I entered. It felt cosily warm, perhaps too warm. I approached the counter where a bespectacled lady with strange luminescent green hair stood seemingly perched, peering through thick lenses. "I'll have the 2 eggs and chips without the ham, if I may," I chimed. "Surgedgly," came the reply, in a strangely gargled sound. I chose a corner table with a seat facing the cafe space. Only one other table was occupied. Another oddly shaped individual sat there. I took the form to be masculine, but it appeared to have been poured into the seat and to have settled, as would a wobbly blancmange, into position. Every so often, in fact, this form did wobble and change colour slightly inside its ill-fitting clothing. As I waited for food, a plate of 2 eggs and chips was taken by the bird-like woman to the blancmange's table. Inside what seemed just seconds, the meal had been gorged, and the bird returned to the kitchen area with a cleaned-out plate. Just moments later she reappeared with another plate of double egg and chips. Great, I thought, I can eat now and be on my way. But strangely the meal went the way of the first one, and the process repeated itself at least a dozen times, until eventually the jelly-like form changed suddenly and grew enormously quickly into a huge, twisted, gnarled shape with a triangular head and 4 tentacle-like arms protruding from strategic positions along its trunk. Just as suddenly the form began to break up and rapidly lose outline before quickly disappearing. I was aware of a strange odour pervading the area, and the room had been transformed into what was now a waiting area and counter with displays of brochures showing pictures of exotic destinations, some of which appeared somewhat unworldly. My eye was drawn to the person behind the counter. Was that the same person who'd taken my earlier order? She looked vaguely familiar, but now seemed more normal, although the bird-like glint behind the thick-lensed spectacles remained unchanged. I felt a compulsive urge to leave quickly, and any spirit of adventure was evaporating rapidly. It had stopped raining, and the freshness of the air seemed to clear my thoughts to a point at which I felt I'd just emerged from a nightmare. As I walked away, I glanced over my shoulder. The travel agency was no longer there. Only a small, neat, end-of-terrace house with 1950s-style flowered curtains filled the spot. But what might be there tomorrow? Why had I been able to enter the place? Was I earmarked for transport into the beyond? Then it occurred to me that perhaps I was in fact an alien shape-shifter and was nearing my time to return home, having completed my duty here on earth.
Oh no, 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 no.